This is Jake Bazicki with an ACT Science conflicting viewpoints question. Now, this question is asking us about how scientist one talks about the heating and cooling of the asthenosphere, and what scientist one says that heating and cooling, so the heating and cooling of the asthenosphere, is responsible for. So, as we do with questions where it mentions one scientist or one researcher or one person, we're going to look in their perspective, their little passage, to see what they say about the heating and cooling of the asthenosphere and what it is responsible for. And we'll go through each of our answer choices. So, answer choice A. Does scientist 1 say that the heating and cooling of the asthenosphere is responsible for the creation of mountains and valleys? Only. Oh, now that's a key word there. Only. You have to make sure that it only refers to that. So if we're reading, we see that mountains are the result of waves near its crust. The flexible crust was pushed up in waves by the asthenosphere underneath, forming to cool mountains and valleys. Okay, so the asthenosphere heated up and cooled down to create mountains and valleys. So yes, it did create mountains and valleys, but if it is responsible for anything else, this answer choice is wrong because it says that it was responsible for mountains and valleys only. So let's go to answer choice 2, the creation of mountains and valleys and the waves in the Earth's crust only. So we're reading in mountains are the result of waves in the Earth's crust. The flexible crust was pushed up in waves by the asthenosphere. So pushed up in waves by the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is responsible for waves in the Earth's crust. So it is responsible for mountains and valleys and waves in the Earth's crust. But once again, we have this only here. So now we know answer choice 1 is wrong because it is now encompassed in answer choice 2. Let's go to answer choice 3. Ocean basin formation, waves in the Earth's crust, and the creation of mountains and valleys. So does it say anything about ocean basin formation, which is the new piece here? So if we're reading about the ocean basins here under scientist 1, the ocean basins were formed by an uneven cooling of the asthenosphere. Okay, there it is. Uneven cooling of the asthenosphere. So the heating and cooling of the asthenosphere is responsible for ocean basin formation, waves in the Earth's crust, as we saw earlier, and the creations of mountain valleys, which we saw in answer choice 1. So we know answer choice 2 is wrong because it's not only these two things, it also is ocean basin formation. What about answer choice? Now we look at answer choice D, ocean basin formation and waves in the Earth's crust only. We know that's not true because it also is responsible for the creation of mountains and valleys. That was the first thing that we looked up here. So answer choice D is wrong, and the right answer has to be answer choice C.